Hi everyone, welcome to Unplugged. Thank you very much for coming and taking some time out of your, no doubt, busy Sunday at EGX to come and see us. My name's Tom, this is Frank. We are otherwise known as ReadyAimFire. We're a live action production company for gaming and gaming brands. With us today to give us an inside look into acting for games, we have 4 incredible panelists who you've no doubt heard of. I'll let them introduce themselves because I'll do it poorly and they'll do it much better than me because they're professionals. So Ace, can we start with you?
Yeah, I'll start. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope everyone is well. I don't know if anybody went out partying yesterday. I didn't. So my name is Ayres Ruele, and I am an actor. Well, I used to be an actor, should I say, but now I run my company, which is called Creature Bionics. And Creature Bionics specializes in fantasy characters and creatures for TV, film, and video games. So we build props like arm extensions, tails, digilegs, and stuff to ensure that the creature motion capture data is better than it is without. We also do character development. We also do castings. We do workshops with arm extensions. We hire out our XNs mocap system. We have a connection and partnership with Target 3D as well. So some of the projects that I've worked on, just to quickly wrap it, is game-wise, Dead Islands 2, Lords of the Fallen. Most of that game was shot with my motion capture system. We ran the casting and everything, and we've worked on Planets of the Apes VR, Magic the Gathering, yeah, stuff like that, and films as well.
Hi, I'm Charlotte McBurney, and I'm an actor, and honestly still quite new to all of this. I'm known for playing Amicia in Plague Tale, and young Jill in Final Fantasy 16, and that is the sum total of my credits. So,
not bad ones though, are they? Hi, my name's Ayres. I'm a voice actor predominantly for video games. I was trying to work this out the other day, but it can be quite difficult with code names and stuff. I think I've worked on quite a few games. I've worked on about 50, I want to say. And yeah, some of those have been, I was recently the voice of Zhu Bajia in Black Myth Wukong, and did roles in Baldur's Gate 3, Ark Knights, The Forgotten City, Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, things like that, yeah.
That's so awesome. Oh, I just want to say thank you for having me, first of all. Hi, guys. My name is Elsie Lovelock. I'm also an actor, surprise, surprise. Mainly probably known for video games and animations. I'm probably best known for stuff like the Has-Been Hotel Pilot, Murder Drones, that's an animation. Video games such as Genshin Impact, Baldur's Gate 3, Poppy Playtime, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, Xenophon Zero, and lots of other different things. I'm so tired right now, I cannot remember my own resume, so I do forgive me for that, but look me up on IMDb, it's all there. But yeah, very happy to be here, very happy to be with all these amazing actors here, and yeah, thank you for having us.
Oh, thanks, you guys did a really good job. So I'm really interested to find out from each of you, like, how did you get into acting in games? Like, obviously from the outside kind of looking in, it's just always that thing, like, how did you get that first entryway into doing it?
Oh, okay. So my entrance into video games first started from I was on a film, Legend of Tarzan, and I'd done the mocap for most of the gorillas and all the lions. And then I didn't know that, humans played creatures. I thought it was all CG. So basically, cut a long story short, when I discovered about mocap, I decided that's what I was going to go down. And then, because mocap is one of those kind of situations where it's very niche. So those who are working, it's easier to work with them because it's body. So unless it's performance capture where they capture your face, you have to have a various of skills in order to do mocap. So because I had various of skills, but my way in was by creature. So what I done was make my own pillar arm extensions, make a few of them, make reference videos for animation that build a buzz, built other equipments that built a buzz, and then got into the game from that. And then my first game was, what was it called? The Impatient. That was the first one by Supermassive Games, and then and then I just traveled down from there. And then I bought my own mocap suit, which is the XNs. And then from that allowed me to not only work in games, but it also allowed me to provide motion capture data for games and part of castings and stuff like that. So yeah.
So I was very lucky in that, I knew I wanted to be an actor and was doing a lot of sort of after-school drama, basically, and joined a children's agency when I was 16. And the first audition that came in was for a game called Plague Tale Innocence. And I was just sort of one of those irritating people, because I was just very lucky because it came about that they wanted to cast actual children, so they didn't need people with voice actor experience, which I think can sometimes be that difficult thing of getting your first foot in the door. And so I sent in a tape. I didn't know what I was doing, and they brought me in and they taught me how to do voice acting, basically. And yeah, and then I was just very lucky that happened to be such a special project. So yes.
Yeah, we were talking about this before, actually, about how funny it is the like myriad different routes into doing this kind of work. For me, I trained at drama school. I went to a place called East 15, and I trained as a theatre actor and film and TV and things like that. Did a little bit of voice work during that time as well. But yeah, I kind of worked in theatre for a couple of years, and then like many of us, lockdown hit, and I was reduced to building a vocal booth out of an old IKEA wardrobe in my parents' attic to find something to do. So I did that, and was lucky enough to get into a couple of games from sort of just stuff I'd found online. I did that, got the bug, absolutely loved it, and then kind of just never looked back. I preferred the freedom that I had casting-wise working in video games, because I felt like when I was doing theatre and film and TV, I was getting put in the same kind of boxes all the time, and when I went into video games, those kind of dissolved, and I was able to play a lot more different characters. So yeah, that was my route in.
I love hearing everyone's different stories, how they got in, because it's so different each time. Yeah, with me, I originally wanted to be an animator when I was a kid, because I love cartoons, anime, all that lot, just like everybody here. And then I changed my route when I realized how I could not sit still and be patient for doing animation, because it takes so long. So I was like, I want to do acting. So I've pretty much done all different kinds. I've done holiday entertainment, I've been in an opera, I did Britain's Got Talent, I did all the kind of different stage things. Wanted to do musical theatre, realized I can't dance, so I was like, okay, voice acting's perfect. But I also have my YouTube channel for about 15 years. I'm a singer primarily, so that's where I got into it from. I started doing fan dubs and stuff. So that's kind of actually where I learned to do dubbing, funnily enough. Like I sort of taught myself from doing fun fan dubs and things like that, just from stuff I love. And then, yeah, when I was sort of around, late 20s, I was like, all right, stop messing about. You got to take this seriously now. So I started like actually auditioning for things and actually taking it seriously. And then it pretty much just built up from there. So I've been doing this full time since 2018, and I've just been steadily building up my resume. Got with my UK agent in 2021. Everything was really great from there. Started doing bigger stuff. And yeah, it's just kind of grown. It's a very uphill process, and it has been that for me. I started with the most horrible, like, Home Alone contraption type microphone, in my room with like curtains and dressing gown over me. And then here we are, and I'm speaking here and stuff like that and going in studios, and it's great. So yeah, it's just been a uphill process.
Thanks, guys, for those amazing answers. I mean, Elsie, your singing experience, do you think that helps you with the range of different characters you have to play and sort of like character voices and the different noises you have to make?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a physical standpoint, it definitely helps as well, because I feel like I've got good like lung support, if that makes sense. Good sort of support for doing like yelling and battle stuff. Like all of that, still helps, and like the knowing how to look after your voice and knowing how to support the voices, and it just giving longevity, like being able to do like 4-hour sessions and not get too tired, all that kind of thing. And yeah, just sort of like it helped me learn how to perform in front of people and lose my inhibitions, because I was terribly bullied when I started in high school, and stage stuff taught me to come out of my shell, and I was able to look people in the eye again, and it just really helped me grow. So I would highly recommend it, even if this isn't what you want to do as a career. Like, it can just help you with shyness and anxiety, and I still get nervous, but it helped me so much.
It's really cool. So you mentioned that it's 4 hours sometimes when you guys are recording in the booth. Is that sort of typically how long it is if you're going in for a day's session?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. It obviously depends on the size of the role. I imagine you were probably in for Plague Tale for longer than that, even in a day, or no?
No, I wasn't allowed.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Your voice starts getting fatigued. I mean, it's interesting you talk about looking after your voice. That was something that I didn't know. I did a lot of singing as a kid, and that helped, but I didn't know about that, and I would shoot my voice a lot because I didn't know what I was doing when I started. And you do have to be quite careful because there's a lot of yelling in games, and in the ones that I do, there's also a lot of stealth, and all the whispering is really bad for you. And so we had to learn, well, I had to learn to sort of look after it, and also to put anything that was going to be screaming and shouting at the end of the session, but not more than 4 hours. And actually, when I started on Innocence, it was because I was underage, I had to take breaks and was chaperoned by my mum and dad would come with me, depending on who was free. And then they would asked if they wanted to come in and see what I was doing, and they went, nope, don't care. So unbothered. But yeah, I haven't done more than
I think we should roll that out across the board, actually. I think my parents would quite enjoy the day out.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're doing the much more physical side of acting, do you find that things like breathing and even the voices you make, even if they're not necessarily recorded, do you think that's important to how you do the physicality of any character or creature that you're playing?
Yes, very important, because at our workshops as well, when we get into character development, we talk about how it's important about the breath and the sound, and the breath and the sound has a subconscious effect on the body. So however you breathe in your sound, your body starts to mimic it. So when we're playing creatures, we have to 100% be in a space where we're able to use the sound to get us there. So like if you, for instance, started breathing really fast for a certain period of time and you stopped, your body would have a certain reaction. Same with sound. If you was to scream for a long time, your body would have a certain reaction. So we definitely use sound and breath as a way to get the body to be a mimic with it. So once you've done the character development and you understand the psychology of the character, then we get to the locomotion. So locomotion is when you move the joystick and the character moves forward, left, right, press square. Sorry, I'm PlayStation. So it's fair. And Nintendo Switch. So yeah, sorry,
other
Xbox.
platforms
Sorry,
are
Xbox.
available.
So we definitely we have to, because it helps. And funny enough, sound also helps the audience to have a convincing in what you are doing. And I always say to people that when it comes to being an actor, your sound should be able to tell a blind person what's going on, and your physicality is supposed to tell a deaf person what's going on. So that's how you have to do it. And you think about, you make it readable for a child, but make it entertaining for an adult. And that's what I like to always focus around.
Interesting. And so what's your sort of first pathway into for character development side of things? Is it as a physical thing? Are you looking at the scripts? Do you work with the directors?
So if I had a script, and this is between either film or game, what normally happens is I'll be given a script. With game, it's more likely you're going to be given the character and the description. Once the character and the description is given, so let's say if there was a script, I would subtract all the creature stuff out from the script, and then from the script, I'm able to tell what the purpose of the character is. So let's say, if the character is here to destroy the Earth, then the backstory is something where they've come from a place that was destroyed, or because they come from something that's evil. So that kind of gives you the psychology, because why would you want to come here and destroy stuff? So once you understand their role in the script, you can then go backwards, especially if it's not a character that you can Google and it's already there. So that's when once you just understand what the purpose is and what their psychology is, their behavior, then you start going on to the physicality. And so when we go into the physicality, depending on the creature, we might use the arm extensions. I've got my tail over there, and we might have modified digilegs to get the real angular and get the actor physically as much as the character. And then from there, we might use motion capture to be able to pre-visit to see how does it work, because a lot of the times people do shoots, and without the previs, sometimes your physicality might be going into the rig once you retarget it. So when I say rig, it means when you get the character, once you do the motion capture, you might put it straight onto the character, and there's a lot of clashing, meaning the body is going into the body. So we use previs to say, okay, what's the mesh like, and then understand the physicality, get the weight, so that when we shoot, then we've already got the thing going on from before.
The movement's refined. Interesting. And I saw you guys nodding as Ace was talking there. So even if it's coming at it from more of a voice approach, what are the correlations or differences in terms of your approach when he was saying going into the backstory and the psychology of the characters. I could see all three of you kind of going along with that. Yeah. Is that kind of how it goes? Like, how much backstory are you given? Like, how much is your own creation?
I mean, it really depends, to be honest. You know, like project to project, the amount of information you can get can vastly differ. You know, sometimes you might be given like, you know, 3 A4 pages of like, you know, the entire history of the planet Xandar or, you know, wherever the character's from. And other times it might just say man 30s and then the script. But both are interesting to approach because you run the risk sometimes when you get given loads of information that you can overcomplicate things and try and play too many things at the same time because, you know, like there's intricate like things about the character, but you just can't play that. You just have to focus on the kind of, you know, what the character's experiencing in that moment, and, you know, run it from there. And on the flip side of that, when you don't have much information, that's kind of nice in a way because you've got carte blanche to, you know, to make decisions for yourself. And that's what I always say when people ask about auditions, is that even if you don't have the information, just make a choice, make a decision. Like, people won't be able to know specifically what decisions you made, but they will be able to tell if you don't know the answers to questions about the character when pressed, because, you know, everything impacts the way that a character will react to a scenario, and even if you're not given that answer, you should decide on that for yourself, I think.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, auditioning is kind of like the amuse-bouche of video games, and you don't really have access to the buffet yet. And when you do book it, you know, you're like, oh, I didn't know that about the character, didn't say that. And also things can change. You know, video games are ever changing, ever developing. I've been recast from stuff that I booked even after recording because they just went, we want the character to be Irish now, bye. You know, and I'm not Irish, so I'm like, cool, you know, give it to someone Irish. Or I've had the same thing happen on the flip side, or I've gone into a session and they're like, oh, actually, this is the character's motivation. Actually, she's this now. And I think one of the sort of biggest sort of skills I would say to anyone wanting to get into this is be adaptable, because you don't know what's going to be thrown at you at any minute, you know. And also you could be in a session and they're suddenly like, oh, can you do this character now? And you're like, oh, cool, that's not what I signed up for, but we have an hour left, so let's do it, you know. And they will just sort of throw things at you. Doesn't always happen, but it's something that is definitely worth being prepared for in this job, is that you'll encounter all different kinds of navigational things, and you kind of just have to be like, yeah, got you. But it can be a bit unexpected for sure.
I think there's a lot of tension between sort of the games world and then, you know, you guys coming from sort of drama school backgrounds, and I do a lot of theatre, and I think I know a lot of actors are pushing to get more of an almost theatrical experience, where some games are starting to do table reads, so we can sit down and get through the whole story, because I've mostly worked on narrative games, and sometimes they're so NDA'd. While I'm working on them, they won't tell me where I am in the game or who I'm talking to or what. They're like, so the general emotion, this is particularly Square Enix with with Final Fantasy, which was fair enough because it was a big deal. But they were so. I played Young Jill was nice because that was at the beginning and that was narrative. But I played a lot of other female characters across the game, and they're like, so you're outside, can we tell you that? I'm like, guys, please. I'm sort of random person number 43. It's fine. And that was quite, it's quite interesting, the difference between what they can tell you, what they can't, even when when I worked on Plague Tale, they weren't telling me how it ended for the longest time. So I appreciate the more theatrical approach or filmic approach even, of having a table read, getting the full narrative arc, because often we record not in chronological order. So you're spotting all over the game, and if you have a long arc, I prefer emotionally to know what that arc is, so that if I'm diving into the middle, I know where I am. So that if you're because video game characters often experience a whole lot of pain. And so if sometimes I would do it and they were like, that's great, but it's about to get a lot worse. So if you're that upset, you're just going to fall apart in 2 minutes in the game. So I always find that quite tricky, just not getting the full context.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was really interesting you mentioning that, because that was one of the biggest things I found challenging about starting voice work for games was when I was working in theatre or other mediums, I was a serial preparer. I liked to have the script and go through it to the nth degree and action things, and I wanted to, if there was backstory I could read, I wanted to read all of it. I wanted to do all the research, but that was something that you kind of just have to let go of with this, because oftentimes you don't get scripts till the last minute. But in a way, I found it very freeing now, because I feel like the way that operates in games, with them not being able to give you scripts early on or not all of the backstory, you just had to learn to kind of trust that you can turn up on the day and roll with the punches. And often if you prepare too much, it can disadvantage you in this medium, because you turn up on the day and then like you said, the character's American now. Or we've actually we've not going to give you those ones that we sent you anymore. We're going to swap you for some other characters, because someone came in earlier and they did that character, and when you're doing NPCs and things. So yeah, not preparing to the nth degree and just being ready to walk in and do what is necessary and trust that you're going to do a good job at it was a big learning curve for me, for sure.
I just wanna add to that, because when I first started doing motion capture, it was the same thing. You'll get told it's NDA, you'll sign it, and you probably won't get nothing until the day. But what I've realized is that because I now operate as a company, I've noticed the difference, and because my thing is quite niche in regards to what we do, it's I don't even nowadays. For a while now, I wouldn't take a job unless we get to know what the stuff that we're doing, because I feel like it's respect for the actor. You know what I'm saying? It's everybody else on board knows everything. We've signed the NDA, we've signed it.
And how have you found the response to that stance? Have people warmed to that?
They have. I've turned down 1 or 2 jobs when it comes to motion capture and they're not going to credit, because sometimes when you do, especially film, and you do it through the VFX house, you'll get a contracted credit, but you won't get a credit. So sometimes there's certain things that I'm we need more respect for the actors. We shouldn't have to turn up on the day and be given something that, first of all, we knew from before, we're not that silly to, what we're going to do, go and post it, and ruin our whole careers. We're not, nobody's done that in how many years, if you understand what I'm saying, if you're professional. So for me, I've just come to that point now where it's and I said, because it operates as a company now, so usually when someone comes to me, it's because they want what we're doing. So I always say to them, look, this is how the process is, so that's been one of the benefits. But it then also at the same time, it might take away certain work, because I'm no longer just give me anything, But at the same time, it's I just think it's respect for the actors. There's no reason why we shouldn't know our character a couple of days before everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to add that 2 pence to that.
I think that's a really important point. Thank you for bringing it up. I want to switch gears a little bit now and talk about the introduction of AI into the industry. How has it impacted your guys' day-to-days and your roles, and how do you feel about it?
There you go. No, I'm joking. I won't go on and on about it, but I'm going to say this. Video games are art, and they take a huge team of different artistic talents to make it work. It's a cake, it's different ingredients, and it all has to come together to make something beautiful. And that is from people's artistic talents, their creativity, and their humanity. And that also applies to the characters. You cannot relate to a character that is not a character, that hasn't come from a human perspective, the human heart, the human brain. It's just not, it's not possible. And it's nothing that I'm interested in seeing in my games, and I'm sure you're all not either. And unfortunately, greedy corporations think, oh, easy route, more money, and then they just go to that. And it's very important that we just don't support it. And you know, it's very important that we have AI protections. You know, I've already had my voice taken from various characters, and I'm already on the internet. You know, people have made songs from characters that I've done. It's already there. And unfortunately, there's not much I can do. And we just need to make sure that that doesn't happen in our video games. But yeah, I will say though, I haven't really experienced from my perspective any kind of video games that I think that companies are doing this as much as people think. I do feel like, you know, companies are still interested in keeping characters authentic, not using AI voices much. When I've seen games that have used AI voices, they've been ripped apart. So I'm like, yeah. So it seems like it's still going in that positive direction, and it's just more important than ever that the corporations pay attention to the fact that, you know, this is art. And it's our humanity, and AI learns from other things. It steals. It takes from what's already out there, from what's been made by humans. It can't make. It can only copy. So whatever's AI out there is not authentic, and it shouldn't be supported. Sorry, I'm like, and also I've read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, so I am not about the computer takeover, okay? But yeah, I think without going on too much, that is my perspective in a nutshell, is that video games are still art, and they need to be kept that way forever.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about like because we're all talking about it. That's honestly the way it's impacted most of my work, is that that's what we're all talking about. And we're all sort of, I think the most important thing is this protection that we get, and you know what Ace was talking about with his company and protecting actors and respecting actors. That's really important, that he's out there fighting to get people credits, and that's the same because this kind of thing matters. And that if you work with companies where you can feel safe and you can feel protected, that you're entrusting your voice, because it's really scary that people, you know, we don't want our voices out there saying things that we don't believe in. It's just like this, it's the sort of Jaws thing where we're just sort of seeing the fin and we're not seeing the full shark, and we're like, ooh, you know, I don't understand what's happening. And we're sort of scared of what could happen and what is happening to some people. And it's happened to quite a few of my friends that they've had really, you know, worrying experiences, particularly sort of, and it's just for us to have the legal protection that in my head is the important thing.
Yeah, to try and put a bit of a positive spin on things. Maybe I'm naive, but I personally think that we might have a couple of rough years ahead on that front, but I ultimately do think that it will come back around, and companies will realize that there's a real demand for authentic performance, like you said. I mean, you know, look at the games that are the most successful right now. You know, Baldur's Gate 3 came out over a year ago now. There's still like 50% of people downstairs dressed in Baldur's Gate 3 cosplay, and a big part of that is the way that the actors and the performers brought life to those characters, but also, not only that, and it's one thing that AI will never be able to do, is engage with the audience. You know, those people are downstairs, they've made genuine connections with lots of the people that play those games, and that those games are safe spaces for them. And yeah, that's, you know, you're never gonna get that kind of experience with something that was made by a machine, and that's a big part of why people will buy games, and ultimately the only way that we deal with this situation is by people voting with their pockets, and you know, buying the games that inspire them, and you know, clearly that's the case with a lot of those games, and I think that people will find out the hard way potentially that they lose something that's kind of intangible with their video games by handing it off from humans. You know, because humans are playing the games, and I think they want to see themselves reflected in them.
Yeah, for me, you can't really stop AI from happening. You can't stop it. It's going to happen. And for me, I've just come to a standpoint where I definitely agree with people's voice being used. You know what I'm saying? Taking someone's voice and reusing it without their permission. I do. For a game, you know, they're probably going to use AI for probably NPCs because it's just going to be much easier for them. And at the same time, I try not to get caught up in the whole thing because at the end of the day, it's just like, you know, it depends who's behind it because all of people who drive once had a TomTom. When the things came out on when maps came on the phone, they don't care about using TomTom anymore. TomTom got upset. When animation came about, VFX, the practical effects companies got upset. There's always going to be something. And for me, I've just come to that point as if that's your business and you want to spend your money and use AI in your business, because I didn't put no investment in your business, because I always say to people, like, at the end of the day, as much as we are the talent, it's still a business. If no matter what, everybody has to always remember that this industry is a business. If they don't make money, they're not going to bring it out again. So if they feel like they can save money this way and do that way for their own game, that's up to them. I always feel that there was always going to be people who are going to want the real stuff. There's always going to be people. Same way theatre is still here. Movies has been out, theatre is still here. Kindle is out, books are still here. So it might go one AI for a long time and then flip back, but you will get people that be like, no, I want an actor. You know, so I feel like if you find a way to use AI for your advantage, because it's like, look, we use filters on our phones, right? Filters. We're not paying somebody to do that edit. Normally somebody would have got paid to do that filter, you know, the editing, the Photoshop and everything. Now we can do it ourselves. Do you know what I'm saying? That loses money for somebody else as well. So as much as I might think, oh, what's going to happen? At the end of the day, if you can't stop it, how can I find a way to do it? How can I find a way to be a part of it and use it for my advantage rather than take away a job from somebody else? So that's how I kind of think on it. And at the end of the day, it's your business. If Sony wants to use all AI, then go ahead, do your thing. I might be upset, but then I just say if there's enough people upset, then everybody start a business together, and then now you keep that authenticity, keep going. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I think on it.
That's interesting perspective, man. Yeah. Well, all of them are interesting perspectives, but it reminded me of what you were saying of how like practical effects are coming back into movies now, and we want to go and see them because movie fans will talk about that and go, this one's got practical effects, but something like Alien Romulus has got a combination of digital and practical. And yeah, as you say, maybe it's going to be an interesting couple of years, and we'll see how that evolution progresses. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to, sorry. I keep turning my microphone on and off. As you can see, I'm not microphone trained.
It's okay if you've had enough of us.
Not at all. I was going to say, a lot of writers and authors say that the characters they create come to feel like real people, or like their children or their friends, etc. Is there a role that any of you guys have played where it still feels like a real person, like someone you know, someone you're excited to meet again, especially like Amicia, I probably pronounced that wrong, sorry guys, in A Plague Tale, if you know, you get to play that character again, oh yeah, I get to go and spend time with that person again.
Yeah, I mean, Amicia will always be, sorry, that's close. She'll always be very, very special for me, because it's my first ever role, and it was that, I mean, yeah, what a dickhead I am to have that. But they wrote something very, very special, and they created someone very special, and I felt really lucky to be a part of that. When we were making the second one, I was so anxious, like making it, thinking, well, this might be it for me working with this amazing company, and this might be it for me playing this character. Because when we finished the first one, I was like, there's gonna be another one. And then with the second one, I was like, oh my god, I'm so. And then at the end of the game, I was like, she's been through enough, and she's done I'll always have a very special place in my heart for her. I don't. I mean, certainly no one's been in touch about, but I think there was something I was surprised by how happy I was to let her go as well, because she went on, for me, she sort of completed her arc, and I think what's really special is just speaking to people about her. She meant, and she continues to mean so much to me. And when people come up and say how much she means to them, especially because it's a game that deals with a lot of difficult topics, I get people coming up and talking to me a lot about PTSD and grief and anxiety, and for people to say that she helped them in some way through these things. That, I mean, that's the best thing I could ever dream of.
Yeah, for me, I guess the one that I think of is a slightly unusual one for me because it's the only time I've really done it this way. But yeah, working on Black Myth and getting to play Zhu Bajie, it was the first time I had come onto a project, a video game, where pretty much the visuals were finished, because obviously there was the incredible original Chinese version that I was privileged to see, and yeah, getting to do pretty much all of the scenes with the finished kind of product in front of me. Yeah, I just, you know, had the privilege of being able to see this incredible world play out in front of me, and I really, yeah, did feel like I got to kind of know that character and that world. And with it being such an iconic character from Chinese fiction as well, it was going back to, you know, being a serial preparer. That was one that I was able to exploit that darker side of me as well, because there was just, you know, literally hundreds of years of you know, kind of versions and explorations and stories about that character.
And you felt that was a positive for you to have that material to
Oh
draw
yeah,
from?
yeah. I mean, I love that. You know, like I was a big nerd at school. I loved to kind of study and research and stuff. So for me, that was one that, although it's kind of, you know, when I was auditioning for it, it was like disguised or whatever. But I kind of, you know, you get an inkling sometimes. You're like, I know what this is. So yeah, I was, you know, going away and reading loads of stuff about it and stuff, and yeah, I got to really feel like I knew it very well.
Oh, I don't know, I'm going to follow that with your guys' answers. So beautiful. I'm going to come at it from a slightly different perspective. I don't want to sound like an asshole, putting it bluntly, but I do so many different characters that I have to put myself in and then pull myself out so often. But I love them all equally. You know, I put everything I have into each and every one of them, but it'll be different each time. You know, one week I'll be doing a character and they'll be going through a horrible trauma, crying, burning to death, or whatever the hell game characters go through. And then the next week I'll be doing like a crazy anime girl who's, you know, laughing and doing the oh ho ho and all that kind of stuff. You know, and it's so different each time, but I think that's the beauty of it for me, is I can't really pinpoint a particular character, because I've loved delving into each and every one of them in different ways and putting all that I have into each of them, no matter what the character's going through, what their voice is, and what is going on. And I think that's just the beauty of this job for me, is being able to be all these different things that I would never be able to be in my own life, and being able to put my own emotions and my own experiences into that, which is what makes it so powerful for every actor. You know, you might have a character that you particularly relate to, and you try to be professional, but it can really get you sometimes. It's happened to me as well. I've cried once in a session just because the character in particular was going through something that was so, you know, specific to me in my life that it just gets you. But in the end, I just used the crying for the performance, and it was all good. It all came through. But yeah, it's like just that thing of like, can't really pinpoint one in particular, because I just love the whole process of it and putting everything into it. So I know that was a bit of a different answer from what you guys said. I think that's you know, what we love so much about this is giving that. And sorry, I'll let Ace talk. I'm going upside down.
Continue. Nah, for me, it's very similar to you. I've done quite a lot of different characters, quite a lot. I can only choose my favorite because of the challenge. So my favorite character to do was a Johnny from Magic the Gathering. So there was the game trailer, was the trailer for the card game anyway, the cinematics. And then for me, that was my favorite because it was, I had to use, they came specifically because I had my modified legs and the tail, but we didn't use the tail in the end. And it was that I helped with casting the other actor. It was coming up with the fight, so we created the fight as well. And then it was full performance capture as well. So I had the digilegs, I had the weapon, I had the face cam. So it was like being on my legs for 8 hours and having the face cam so for me it was fun because it's like the challenge. Of course, I may not want to do it every day, but it's one of those ones where, you know, when you do something for a while, it's like video games for me. Like, I like playing games on hard. Like, I just like playing games on hard because I want the challenge. Some games are a bit too hard, but I like playing games on hard because I like the challenge. So because I've done so many different characters, Ajani for me was like a character where it was like, okay. And I say, yeah, that was my favorite character. And one of my other favorite games probably was working on Dead Islands 2 because I was on that for about 3 years, and one of the characters that I done that I like the most is the Butcher. So it's a character that's got these arms with jagged edge. So we used the arm extensions, but again, it was the animation director saw my videos and says, hey, we could use that for this character. And I was like, yeah, we could. And then we reshot the whole thing with using it. So stuff like that for me is my thing. But I'd say Ajani, just because the presence of Ajani being the big lion and having to move a lot and be quick and prove that what I had built was worthy, because that's what you want to get them used. So yeah, I would say that's my favorite.
Very cool. I think we've got time for one more like real quick question. So I'd just like to ask all of you, do you have anything cool coming out that you want to tell us about, or even legally permitted to tell us about? Failing that, what would be your like ideal like dream franchise or dream game to work on?
I'm thinking games, I'm not even too sure. There's one game I worked on, I can't even remember the name of it. But if I'm thinking about what games I've got to work on, I need to double check because I've done something for Diablo, but I don't know if it was for the DLC or if it was for the new game, the new one that just recently come out. So I have to check on that. And probably outside of that, it's not too much mocap related, but it was Gladiator 2. So it's not really games, but Gladiator 2 and training the stunt team in regards to.
That's a nice one to just drop in there. Yeah, just
no, because you know what?
Gladiator 2.
You know what? Because it's not truly fully mocap, but I'm just thinking creature. So for me, that was a really.
Can you
good
tell us what you are in Gladiator 2?
No, I can't. I
Okay,
can't do
we'll
that.
see.
Can I trade my time so Ace can talk about Gladiator 2?
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say that was one. And did you ask about advice? Did you say advice about?
No, I just said what dream franchise.
Oh,
or
dream.
game.
The only game that I would work on for free, literally work on for free for a one time, would be God of War. That's the only game because it's my favorite game. It's my favorite game of all time.
If the devs at God of War are listening,
yeah.
So
we got ways of trying to get in contact with them. I have ways, but I haven't done that way yet. But God of War for me would be a game that, because I love that game so much. And again, it's like, you know, I loved Marvel and I worked on Marvel, but the difference between film and game is you'll be on a film and you're like, oh my God, I'm on a job. But then for that 6 months, you've probably only worked equivalent of 3 weeks if you put all the hours together. Whereas when you're in a game and you're doing the locomotion stuff, you are working, especially if you're the only person in the studio and you have to do like 3-4 different characters, especially for you guys doing voice as well. It's like you have to do all these different characters. So yeah, but God of War for me would be like being in that game and saying that that's the game that I love. I bought my PlayStation 4 for it, I bought my PlayStation 5 for it, so God of War would be the game.
God of War is incredible. I think, dream franchise. I mean, honestly, I think I need to sign up for a workshop with you. This is. I would really love to do mocap because there was sort of an idea that with Playtale I was going to get to do it, and then with COVID and things, it didn't end up happening. And they had a brilliant team doing mocap, but that's like the next level of getting to do the full thing of the character and getting to create it from the ground. And I think when Chris Judge was talking about doing God of War and doing Kratos, and he was talking about like the experience of it, I was like, that sounds like the best thing in the world. Just getting to do these long sessions and film as well as doing the voice. So I think, I mean, any of those big, I would love to get another role where I get to build it from the ground up, any sort of indie game. There are so many companies I want to work with, but a job would be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a slightly rare experience where I do have a couple of games coming out and I'm allowed to talk about them, which is, very unusual. One of them is a game called Locomotive, which is a point-and-click comedy slapstick murder mystery set on a train, which is very funny, and I highly recommend you check it out. They just had the demo on Steam Next Fest. And the other one is a game called Karma, The Dark World, which is a horror game, very kind of Orwellian theme set in 1984 in East Germany, which is coming out next year and is really exciting. There's a few trailers coming out, and also the demo is still out from that for Steam Next Fest as well. In terms of dream job, I'm going to look straight down the camera when I say this, is please put me in Mass Effect.
Good answer.
I will do anything to be in Mass Effect. Anything. I'll be a Solarian. I'll be a Volus. I just love to be in Mass Effect, to be honest. I'd accept Fallout 4. Well, not Fallout 4. Any Fallout game. I'd accept it. So yeah, you know, if you want it, we can talk. Yeah, that's me.
I love that. Oh my gosh, so relatable as well. In terms of games coming out, there's one that I can't talk about, but it's probably like the biggest commercial title that I've worked on so far. And I've actually played the game myself with my niece, who's 12, and we've played it a lot. And I'm so excited to see her reaction when I get to tell her that I'm actually in it. I'm gonna cry, so because we've played it together and it means a lot to me. So the fact when I booked it, I was like, oh my god, can't wait to tell my niece. So there's that, and there's also a game coming out, an indie game that I'm in that I'm able to talk about called Bye Sweet Carol, and it's special to me because it's a horror game, but it's 2D traditional animation. So it's inspired by like Disney. It's kind of like a dark Disney horror game, and it's all been animated traditionally, and it looks so different and cool. And as someone who wanted to be an animator, to be in a game like that is really awesome. So that's one that I can talk about. In terms of things, dream projects, Resident Evil, please. I'm begging. I know that it's impossible because like they pretty much only do that in LA, but I cannot express how much that franchise means to me. I'll be a zombie. You can kill me immediately. I do not care. I'll do it for free. Right? I can commute. For that, I'd fly over. Yeah. I pay my own flights. Like even if they let me just be like an NPC zombie, like just please, Resident Evil. I would. Oh my gosh. But yeah. But
amazing.
That's me.
Guys, thank you so much. That is our show. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get a round of applause for our amazing panelists, please? Ayres, Charlotte, Jack, and Elsie. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you have an amazing rest of your EGX. We've been ReadyAimFire. This has been Unplugged. If you like free stuff, there are stickers over on the table for the Dread God of Video Production video, who I'm wearing on my shirt. I also want to thank our friends at Secret Sauce, and thank you to everyone here at EGX and Comic-Con. I hope you had a lovely time. Enjoy the rest of your weekends.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Have a good time, guys.